G'day there folks, Connor here again, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get straight into it. Alrighty, this one was posted on a few different subreddits. It was written by user Fuzzy French, and the first one's titled, "How can I find peace in my twin sister's death when I'm forced to live with my stepmom who caused it? I, 17 female, had an identical twin sister. We were inseparable and did everything together. She was honestly my best friend. Last year, in September, my stepmom had to pick us up from a volleyball game. Our dad usually picked us up, but he was out of town. She was an hour late because she forgot about us. Well, on the way home, she kept ranting about how we disturbed her nap. Long story short, she ran a stop sign at an intersection. We got into a horrible accident. Most of that night was a blur, but I remember the last few minutes before the crash. I was hospitalized for weeks, but my twin sister passed away that night. I haven't forgiven my stepmom. She refuses to acknowledge that she was in the wrong. Even though there were eyewitnesses present, she refuses to accept responsibility for causing the accident. I'm not an angry person. I'm a very calm and non-confrontational at all. But I can't even look at her without feeling like she stole her from me. She stole my sister's life away, and she acts like my sister never existed to begin with. One thing that really struck a nerve was when I was out at Walmart with my dad and stepmom, we had to buy something for my younger brother, and they started a conversation with an old man. I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but the old man asked my dad how many kids he had. My dad said he had 4 kids, but my stepmom corrected him by saying, "No, 3. That just made me really sad. I didn't speak to her for the rest of the day. I can't describe how I feel. I lost my best friend who I shared everything with. My sister knew exactly how I felt about everything because we experienced life together. Now I constantly feel like I'm a zombie. I often dream about her, but when I wake up and reality hits, it absolutely crushes me. Living is unbearable without my sister." Geez, this is a really sad one to kick things off with, but let's go to the comments. Please go to twinlesstwins.com. They can help you. I would have embarrassed her in Walmart and said, "Well, it was 4 until you killed my twin with your negligence and act like it's no big deal." I'd be embarrassing her left and right in front of people, especially her friends and family. I lost my brother a few years back, and it is a wound that never healed. I just live with the pain. I can't bring him back. I obviously can't replace him, but the sun will still rise tomorrow and the day after, and I just live day by day. Some days are harder than others, but whether I like it or not, that is my life now. That being said, while I cannot make things better since he's certainly not coming back, I try not to make it worse by holding on to the grief, but by letting it go. Okay, Opie makes another post on Am I the A-hole the same day, 1 hour later. For some background, my dad cheated on my mum with my stepmom. They ultimately got divorced, which was really hard on our family. My mum ended up moving back to her home country in Europe. My twin sister and I had to stay with our dad. I live with my dad, my stepmom and my younger brothers. Last year in September, my twin sister and I had a volleyball game at school. My dad was usually the one who picked us up from our games and practices, but he couldn't that night. My dad was out of town, so our stepmom had to come pick us up. She arrived an hour late because she took a nap and forgot about us. As soon as we got in the car, she started going on a rant about how we disturbed her nap. Long story short, she ran a stop sign at an intersection. We got into a horrible accident. Most of that night was a blur, but I remember the last few minutes before the crash. I was hospitalized for weeks, but my twin sister passed away that night. I can't describe how I feel. I lost my best friend who I shared everything with. My sister knew exactly how I felt about everything because we experienced life together. Now I constantly feel like I'm a zombie. I'm not suicidal, but I often imagine and think about ending my own life because living is unbearable without my sister. Well, last night, my stepmom made a special dinner for her birthday. After the accident, I stopped eating dinner with the rest of my family. It just feels wrong eating without my sister at the table, so I eat alone in my room. Well, my dad insisted I eat with them downstairs. I protested, but he begged me. Dinner started off normally. My stepmom announced to my brothers, 8 and 5, and I, that she was pregnant. My brothers were really happy and asked for the gender of the baby. My stepmom excitedly said that it was a girl. My brothers kept talking about they were excited about getting a younger sister. My stepmom mentioned how they could help decorate her nursery. I looked up and asked her which room would be the nursery, and she excitedly said that she was going to use my twin sister's room. She mentioned how she'd already started removing things from her room in the morning and putting them in the attic. I asked her why she didn't bother telling me before she went ahead and started moving my sister's stuff. It was a big deal to me because, aside from me, no one has ever been in her room since she passed. Sometimes when I miss her, I sit in her room to feel closer to her, and some nights I fall asleep in her room. My stepmom got really defensive. She said that I needed to accept that she was having a baby and needed the empty room. I told her that I understood that she was pregnant, but a heads up would have been nice before she started removing things from my sister's room. She looked at me and said that she didn't need to tell me anything because she was the mother of the household. She said she was doing what was best for the interest of her baby, and she didn't need my negativity. I stayed silent, trying to tune her out, but I snapped when she mentioned how I needed to accept my sister's death and move on. She said something along the lines of, "Your twin passed away and you need to accept that. It's hard, but you've got your father, your brothers and I. Plus, you're getting a new sister who you can build an even stronger relationship with. You need to move on because nothing will bring her back." I knew I was getting angry, so I excused myself and left the table. My dad started yelling about how I was being dramatic and I needed to come back or I'd be grounded. I continued walking away until my stepmom said, "I don't understand what her problem is. She couldn't even bother to be happy about my pregnancy, but she's angry about me moving things out of an unoccupied bedroom." I turned around and stared at her in disbelief. My stepmom often acts like twin sister never existed. An example, 2 months ago I was at Walmart with my dad and stepmom. We were buying a birthday present for my younger brother, and they got into a conversation with an older man. I wasn't paying much attention, but the old man asked my dad how many kids he had. My dad said he had 4 kids, but my stepmom responded saying, "No, 3. She does stuff like that all the time, which drives me insane." I started going off on her, and she sat there quietly. I mentioned how she's been the cause of every major traumatic event in my life. I reminded her that she knowingly started sleeping with a married man. She knew he had a wife and kids, but she didn't care. She broke up my family, sending my mum into a deep depression which ultimately led her to move away. Then I reminded her that she was too preoccupied with ranting about how we disturbed her nap, which ultimately led to a car accident that had me hospitalized for weeks, and I lost my twin sister because of her carelessness. I told her that she had no right to just take things out of my sister's room, and I wasn't angry about her new baby, but the fact that she started boxing and removing stuff from my sister's room without even telling me in advance. Then finally I told her that it was cruel of her to tell me to move on from the traumatic death of my twin sister. She argued back that the accident happened and I was living in the past. She said everything happens for a reason and God works in mysterious ways. I straight up asked her if she thought that my sister's death could not have been avoided, and she responded saying it was just unlucky fate. I reminded her that my sister would be alive if she wasn't distracted. My stepmom then told me that I make her feel like I wanted her to die instead. I just stayed silent and she kept asking me if she was correct. I turned to walk away and my stepmom grabbed my arm. I asked her to let go and she kept saying, "You want me dead, don't you?" I stayed silent again, but she kept repeating it. I eventually got mad and truthfully told her that my life would have been easier that way. She started crying and my dad called me heartless. I did apologize a few minutes later, but my dad snapped and asked me to leave my stepmom alone. Since then, my dad has been giving me the silent treatment, while my stepmom just avoids me. Am I the a-hole? God, this is such an infuriating read, the way the stepmom is justifying her mistakes with fate. Come on, let's go to the comments. You're definitely not the a-hole. OP, I'm really sorry for your loss. Your feelings are completely understandable. Your stepmom and dad are huge a-holes. Your stepmom for various reasons, including not stopping asking. She shouldn't ask if she didn't want an answer. Your dad because he isn't protecting you and getting you the help you need. Can you talk with your mum about it? How involved is she? You're still her child. Is there any adult in your life that you trust and can help you? You need a mental health professional. You need tools to move forward. You have every right to be angry and feel what you feel." She replies, "Yes, my mum is involved in my life. We text every day and try to FaceTime at least twice a week. But my sister's death was really hard on my mum. My mum's mental health has been rocky for the past 10 years, so I didn't want to trigger anything by telling her how bad I'm hurting. A year after my parents got divorced, my grandpa got really sick. He was diagnosed with a terminal illness. My mum decided to go back to Europe to help take care of her dad and spend time with him. She wanted to take my sister and I with her, but my dad fought her in court. Ultimately, we had to stay with our dad in the US, but we travelled to France every summer. Even after my grandpa passed, my mum decided to stay in France. She told my sister and I that going back to the US would mentally destroy her. It was too many negative memories for her, and she wanted to stay close to her mum. Aside from my mum and her family, all I've got is my friends. My dad was never close with his family. He's got an older brother that I've never met, and I honestly don't know much about my grandparents. I wanted to look into therapy, but my dad refused. He doesn't believe that it will be helpful, and says that it will fill my brain with garbage. He said that if I needed some advice or counselling, I could talk to him or my pastor, which I don't feel comfortable doing. How was she not charged if her running a stop sign caused the death? Opie says she was. She's on probation, and I think she also had to pay a fine. Your dad is worried therapy will illuminate to you just how awful of a human being and father he is. Do you have a plan to get out once you're an adult? Are you planning on attending college and university? When you are 18, can you move to France to be with your mum? If you don't have an escape plan yet, I suggest you work on one. Unfortunately, your dad has proven that nothing, not even the death of his child, is enough for him to side with you or fight for you against your stepmonster. Get your necessary documents, passport, birth certificate, social security card, and get a plan in place to leave as soon as you're 18. You are less than a year away. Get ready for it and bounce. Opie replies, "Thank you so much for the idea of an escape plan. I have dual citizenship, so I have thought about moving to France a lot. But honestly, I don't think it's a good idea. I can speak French fluently, and for the most part I can read it, but I can't write in French, and my vocabulary isn't really expanded, if that makes sense. I do really well in casual and normal conversations, but since I'm only really around my family in France, I don't know bigger or more professional words in French, so I'm afraid that might be a problem if I try to find a job there. But I've looked into colleges in my state and toured some with my friends. I've found one that I really like, so I plan on hopefully being able to attend once I graduate. My dad keeps all of my important documents, so I'll try to find a way to convince him to give them to me." Okay, moving straight to an update, nearly 5 months later. I'm sorry it took so long to get back to everyone, but a lot has happened in the past few months. To start, thank you all for the overwhelming support. I wasn't able to read most of the responses to my last post because I went to sleep after posting it. When I woke up, there were several viral TikTok videos about my situation. I didn't know anything about that, but my stepmom's younger sister saw one of the Reddit videos and sent it to her family group chat. And my stepmom saw the video and lost it when she read the comments. She took my phone, laptop, and grounded me right after I woke up. When my dad got home from work, he backed her up. Her entire family was furious, and my dad got yelled at by her parents, and they tried to force me to take the post down, but I wouldn't give them my phone's password, so there's little they could do about that. They kept calling me insensitive and disrespectful for bringing strangers into a private matter. As a part of my punishment, I wasn't allowed to leave my room. They wouldn't allow me to use my phone or laptop to communicate with my mum at all. They said I could get those privileges back after they deemed that I learned my lesson. A week after everything, my stepmom lost her baby, and she blamed me for it. She said I was causing the entire family too much stress. She just kept yelling at me that I did this to her, and she refused to even glance in my direction. She had a huge argument with my dad about how she wanted me gone. She ended up staying with her parents for the night, and my stepmom even tried to turn my younger brothers against me, and it worked with the older one. My dad tried to convince me to apologize to her, but I didn't even understand what I'd be apologizing for. His wife's pregnancy was already high risk due to many other issues. She had miscarried 3 babies in the past 2 years. I don't know anything about her medical health, but I once overheard her talking on the phone about an abnormality that she had that caused her to lose her other babies. And I just fell into a really bad place mentally after that. 4 days after everything happened with my family, I tried to take my life. My dad and stepmom went out with my brothers, and I tried to overdose on Benadryl. It was the most painful experience of my life. I didn't feel anything at first, but I eventually passed out. I don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, I started throwing up. I was in so much pain and could barely move. I can't remember much, but I think I passed out again. And my little brother found me passed out and covered in vomit, and my dad ended up calling 911. I ended up in the ER. I can't remember everything because it was a blur, but I had to drink activated charcoal. They ran a bunch of tests, drew my blood and gave me an IV. I was hallucinating for hours, and I woke up in a different hospital. I lied to my doctors about everything because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I was still involuntarily sent to a psychiatric hospital anyway. My dad was against it, but I was there for a little over a week. I got into a lot of trouble for attempting to take my life. My dad didn't speak to me for a week after I came home. While I was gone, my dad read all my journals where I wrote about how much I hated myself, my life, and wished my sister was alive. He also found out that I was hurting myself by reading it. He eventually made me read all the pages out loud to him, my stepmom, and my pastor gave me a 3-hour lesson on letting go of the anger and the past. They also took away my door because I, quote, lost that privilege, and my stepmom made it verbally known that she didn't want me there anymore. My dad told me that he was going to send me to a behavioral camp and teen residential program for troubled kids since I tried to take my life. I still didn't have any of my electronics back, and they refused to leave me alone for extended periods of time. So I had to stay in the living room all day and could only go in my room when it was time for bed. My dad made me keep my door open while I showered so my stepmom could monitor me. I wasn't allowed to play volleyball this year as a punishment, which really sucked. I just felt so stuck, and I knew that I'd be sent away to one of those awful camps. I've heard so many bad stories about them, so I took my stepmom's iPad in the middle of the night. I was able to call my best friend. I explained everything to her. She told her parents, and they agreed to help me. I packed a few bags, took a bunch of things that remind me of my sister, and planned to leave 3 nights later. I was able to get my birth certificate and social security card because I told my stepmom I needed them for a job interview at her church's daycare. She surprisingly gave them to me. For 2 nights, my best friend would drive to my house at around 3 a.m. to get some of my things and my sister's old stuff, and then on the 3rd night, I finally found where my dad was keeping my phone and laptop, so I took them back, and I left with my best friend that night. I don't want to accidentally incriminate anyone, so I can't say too much about what happened the night I left or who I was with afterwards, but my dad tried to press charges on several people, but that went nowhere. He gave up on trying to get me to go home because my stepmom was happy with me gone anyways. It's been 3 months since I left. I'm happy to say that I'm safe. I haven't heard from my dad or his wife in weeks, and from what I've heard, they're not on good terms. I'm currently staying with my mum's cousin, but once I graduate high school, I plan on moving to Europe to be closer to my mum. I turned 18 today. I'm happy that I no longer have to legally see my dad again. Also, thank you for those who personally messaged me, gave me legal advice, or even suggested I look into pursuing a lawsuit against my stepmother. Please excuse any spelling errors. This brought back a lot of negative emotions. Holy, no words, honestly. One commenter asks, okay, read both stories, but where the hell is your real mum in all of this? No calls, emails, texts, nothing? She moved to Europe. Why can't you move there and live with her and finish your education there? Or even more so, why didn't you move in with her after your twin sister died? Her daughter died. Quote, for some background, my dad cheated on my mum with my stepmom. They ultimately got divorced, which was really hard on our family. My mum ended up moving back to her home country in Europe. My twin sister and I had to stay with our dad. What is this had to stay with your dad thing? At this point as well, you're driven to suicide and already moved out. I would have taken the fastest plane ticket and seen her because I would need her, and she would need you after one of her daughters died. Well, whatever the case, good luck. It's just weird to me. I would rather fail a year of education and start over than life in that household. She responds, "It's complicated. My mum and dad divorced when I was 8 years old. My mum moved to France a little after my 9th birthday, but before that they had split custody. My mum tried to get full custody of us because she wanted to take us to France with her, but my dad fought her in court and he ended up winning. My dad is significantly wealthier than my mum, so he had better legal representation and tried to drag out the process for as long as possible. Ultimately, my dad was awarded full custody of us, and we only got to see my mum during the summer when we visited her in France. We still kept in contact with her through calls and text messages throughout the year. After my sister's death, my mum did come to the funeral. She and I pleaded with my dad to allow me to live with her, but he wouldn't allow it, and she didn't have the money to fight him in court. She tried reaching out to his pastor and his family to convince him, but they weren't interested in getting involved. My dad threatened to take legal action against her if she didn't leave his family alone. And after that, I didn't have regular contact with my mum because she was struggling with her mental health and alcoholism. But she's been to rehab, has been sober now for almost a year, and she's in therapy. We talk every day, and she's been my rock through all of this. She's doing a lot better, and came to see me last month for Thanksgiving, and I've been staying with her cousin, and that's been really nice." Okay, and the final post we have from OP so far, 7.5 months later, on True Off My Chest. My twin sister was killed almost 2 years ago in a car accident caused by my stepmother. My life has been a living hell since, and I've tried to find the will to keep going, but I'm so tired. I think of her every single day, and everything reminds me of her. I remind myself of her just by looking in the damn mirror. I don't want to forget about her, but it just hurts so much being constantly reminded by everything that she is gone. My sister was such a beautiful soul. I freaking hate that her last moments on earth were so horrible. Before she passed, I hadn't been away from her for more than 12 hours. I'd give anything just to see her again. I can't explain how I feel. I don't necessarily want to die, but I don't want to be here anymore. Every day is a blur, and I feel like I'm just going through all the motions. The only thing keeping me alive is my mum. She's been doing really good with staying sober, but she'd probably go back into alcoholism if I ended my life. I just don't know how long I can keep staying for her. I know how freaking selfish it is of me to even be thinking of it, but I'm in pain all the time. I just want it to stop, and nothing helps. One comment says, "It sounds like you need to seek some support for your mental health. What you've gone through is not a small thing. It is life-changing and traumatizing. Please reach out to a therapist and maybe seek some grief support groups in your area. I don't know you, but I have a sister, and I know that if I died or she died, we would want the other to be happy and healthy. I do hope you can find some peace. I know that's what she would want for you." Another, "Grief is such a huge, obnoxious and cruel jerk. It punishes us for losing people we love, and then keeps popping up to punish us in new mean ways when we least expect it. You're not alone, and you need to get some help from a therapist or grief group, or family or friends, or all of those places. I'm not going to minimize how you feel, it's terrible, but you are worth staying alive for. You deserve all the love and care you give to your sister and your mum." Your sister would not have wanted you to hurt yourself. Your sister loved you. She would have wanted you to be happy and remember the good moments you shared. Please consider honouring her by living your best life. I agree, your mum wouldn't do well with both of you gone. Please seek medical services for your mind and body to help you heal from your loss. Life will get better with treatment and time. Blessings. I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine losing a twin. Please see a medical professional for intervention as soon as you can. Suicidal ideation comes on a scale, and "I don't necessarily want to die but I don't want to be here anymore" is very much a recognised spot on the scale towards the danger zone. I know it may feel like it all the time, but you're not alone. Therapy, medication and mindfulness exercises are all possible things that could help, but step one is recognising that you're not doing okay, and that you're in danger of harming yourself and seeking help. Feel free to DM me if you want to talk. Yeah, let's hope that OP read those final comments and, really took them to heart. Another says, "Oh, this story makes me a special kind of furious I didn't even know existed until now. At her stepmother, but especially her loser father. Seriously, this father is the most pathetic excuse of a sperm donor I've ever seen. His wife killed his daughter, hospitalized his other daughter in an accident she caused, and he just keeps on in that marriage. The level of absolute disgrace he has is astounding, and it never got better. He never pulled his head out of his ass. Reading the title was Poor Girl. Reading the post was, oh no, poor girl. This is so sad. It makes me so furious. Incredible how her father managed to pick the worst decisions every step of the way, like he was playing a game trying for the worst ending. Yeah, and like that other comment said, it just makes you so mad on Opie's behalf. I really hope she's doing better now. Anyway guys, that's it for that story. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And that's it from me today. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.